Hi, my name is Bachmann. I am a senior at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I am a management major with an emphasis in innovation and entrepreneurship. I am being interviewed today by Scott Jenkins for a professional assessment and development plan project for Entrepreneurship 322 with Tom Field.
What were your first 3 jobs?
All right. Well, my most recent 3 jobs were the Donut Hole, Bulu Box, and then recently I started a company called Helping Oats.
What skill sets and capabilities can you perform for these jobs?
Well, from the Donut Hole, I learned how to manage inventory for a small food business, and then along with that, I learned how to manage customer relationships and build long-term relationships that would turn into sales, where they would continue coming back to the Donut Hole to get donuts because of friendly service and happy smile and someone to make their day brighter. From Bulu Box, I actually learned how to work with a customer service team on an e-commerce site. So we would have deadlines to make sure we only had 20 emails left in our mailbox, and we would have to work extra hours if we needed to respond to people. That way they didn't have longer than 48 hours. I also worked with a marketing team, so we'd do marketing campaigns to figure out how to get more subscribers to Bulu Box. And then along with that, I helped run social media with another intern named Sydney Rodhouse. From Helping Oats, I've learned a mountain of things as I actually started that myself. I've learned how to build a brand basically from minimal resources. I'm still building a brand. It's not fully finished, but including like a logo and a website, all the social media platforms. I've also learned how to, I can work with local coffee shops and present to them my sales pitch, and then they, in turn, will start selling Helping Oats. Other things that I can do now include running all the social media sites for Helping Oats, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and then along with all that, accounting. I actually do all the bookkeeping, and then I send everything over to my accountant just for tax season. So other than that, I do most of it, including invoices. It's a huge line of things, and then inventory management. It just keeps going. So I could keep going, Tom, but I won't bore you with all the details of starting a business because you know all of that stuff.
What talents and attitudes do you think are important in a business like Helping Oats?
I definitely think work ethic is really important. That actually I think is a talent that you can work on. I think that it is because I'll have to work long hours to make sure projects get done in time. And since it's just me most of the time, that means it could be like 8 hours constantly, or, a 12-hour day, and you just have to work through it. So I guess like the attitude would just be perseverance, like strength. Optimism is super important, like knowing that what you're doing is worth it, that it's not a waste of time, and that even though a lot of things may be going wrong in the day, there's always something that's going right that makes everything better. One example I can give actually is that most of the days, if I'm being honest, not every day, but a lot of the day I'm doing things that I don't like doing, but then I'll do like one thing, like serving oatmeal in the morning at a coffee shop, and I'll like have people tell me how much they love the product. And then everything that I hate doing, including like accounting and bookkeeping and the boring things I'm sitting alone doing, are all worth it because someone actually enjoys what I'm doing.
Is there someone you've worked with in the past that can attest to your talents and attitudes?
I think that one person I've worked with, or more than one, I'll name 2. The first one that would attest to it that I talked about previously would be the owners of the Donut Hole, or the previous owners because they sold it. Nate Gingery was my boss, and he founded it. And I remember I was a sophomore in college, and he was just super shocked at how much I loved coming to work and how I loved talking to people, and I loved the product they were serving, because any founder or person that has their own company wants to hear that from someone else. Like, I believe in what you're doing, and I'm willing to put in long hours for it. And so I think Nate would definitely say that Anne will put in the time. She's optimistic, and she likes to win. She likes to get her way. Another person that would testify to my talents and attitudes would be Paul Jarrett from Bulu Box. He's a co-founder, and we worked together a lot throughout it. I would always ask him questions, and I would work crazy hours just to prove that I really enjoyed working there and that I wanted to win the respect of my bosses. I thought it was really important that they knew I wasn't in it just for a basic internship, that I wanted more from it, including better relationships and, that full team experience and a perfect first job.
Now we're going to talk about some of your strengths. What are a couple of key words that describe you?
I would say some of the keywords I get a lot are driven, authentic, optimistic, and trustworthy. Those are a few of the keywords. I would say it's a little tricky to know everything that it describes you, because obviously your own opinion on yourself is going to be a little skewed. So, those are things that I've heard other people tell me, which is more of what I try to convey.
And how would you want to be known?
It's always a tricky question, but I would want to be known as someone who is hardworking. If it is in the workforce, I would want to be known as someone people enjoyed working for or working with. I think that is really important and really telling of a character, because I can give examples from when I worked at Bulu Box. I thought the world of a ton of my coworkers, and I was just like, if I can just be like that person and enjoy working somewhere so much that everyone around me loves it just as much, then I did my job and I was known for something special.
And what are some of the key strengths you have?
Well, according to my Gap Strength Finders test, my key strengths are woo, futuristic, includer, communication, and innovation. So along with those, I think that some of mine are determination, trustworthiness, honesty, and perseverance.
And what are some of the outcomes you can draw from these strengths?
I think some of the outcomes that I draw from these strengths are working with people and then working to get things done. So through my communication skills and woo, which is winning others over, I am able to sell to people. I'm able to sell my ideas so that they want to work with me. And then, which is kind of a scary trait, to be honest. It's a very powerful thing, and you don't want to abuse it.
And what are some of your weaknesses?
I would say some of my weaknesses are probably focus and discipline, which I really hate talking about, considering those are two of the things that I wish I had as a strength. So when starting a business, two of the things you really need are focus and discipline. And my issue is that I'm terrible at focusing on one thing at one time. So I will go from doing accounting to sending emails to running to the grocery store, where really I should focus on just finishing all the accounting in one day and then move on to the next item. This also includes in school. I am not very good at focusing. Discipline is another tricky one. I think that it's important to get in a schedule when you're your own boss, and that's something I struggle with every day when I'm going from school to work to whatever other meetings I've scheduled, whereas I should at least try and be disciplined in the areas I can control, like getting up every day on the same time, or eating breakfast the same way every day, or packing meals, or going to the gym at a certain time. So those are the two areas that I have a weakness, but I think that I can definitely improve them, but you don't really want to play on your weaknesses, so I'm not going to say I'll be perfect.
What are some of your experiences with leadership, specifically people, resources, and risk?
All right, so some of my experiences with leadership go way back to volleyball, because I used to play volleyball at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, and that was in 2013 and 14. I was the setter for our team, and I played both years, every game. And I did have to learn how to lead everyone on the team. So when we were feeling down or we weren't performing well, I had to figure out how to work with different players, because some players you can be really stern with and like, I need more from you. And then other players you have to be like, hey, like a little more fluffy, like I expect more, but like I know you're doing your best. So that's one way I learned how to deal with leadership, or I learned some of my leadership skills. In regards to resources and risk, I would say that my experiences have come from helping out. So, leading the resources I have there, whether it's the capital that I have or all of the people I have working for me, sometimes I have to learn how to use my leadership skills to use these resources, which are sometimes people, to perform the best way possible. When it comes to risk, I think that my leadership is pretty, I'm risk tolerant. However, I'm also very analytical. So when I look at something risky like starting helping outs, I think I use my leadership skills to figure out if it was even feasible to do. And then I also use my leadership skills in finding the right people to answer the questions before I took this big risk. So that's how I think that I apply, leadership to my everyday life in the past few years.
Who do you turn to in your network for advice relative to your profession?
I'd say the main people that I key in on right now for advice from my profession would be Paul and Stephanie Jarrett at Bulu Box. They really help me to understand the industry more, in working with other brands or trying to get feedback or any other question I may have, whether it's not even business related. Other people I work with right now as mentors and people in my network are Mark Fleck, who is a consultant for Universal Pasteurization, and he helps take products to market. So for helping outs, he helps me answer any questions I have about manufacturers, processing, packaging, labeling. There are a million areas. And then the other mentor that I really turn to for advice in my professional life, and then your personal life always does affect your professional life, so he knows about both, but it would be Kevin Langley, who lives in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I met him at a conference, and he helps me to figure out my next steps in life. So it's a lot of what we're doing in this class, actually, where we'll sit down and mind map, where have you been? What are your goals in the next 5 years? How are you feeling? He asked me that a lot. Are you enjoying what you're doing? If you have to do anything else, what would you do? And his best advice lately has been, if anything, pick something, because you'll figure out if you like it or not when you're doing it. So those are who I really turn to for my professional network.
Which industry would you like to focus in?
I would like to focus on consumer packaged goods in the health and fitness industry. And the organization or company I'd like to work for or focus with would be Helping Outs. I started it a year ago wanting to do a brick and mortar store, but it's been interesting since then how I've changed into wanting to do a consumer packaged good to sell at retail locations. It's just crazy to think that one product or a product I make and my team makes can be in the hands of so many people over the world. I also think that the food industry needs a lot of changing, including what people think is healthy and unhealthy, because there's so many variations. Helping Us, we focus on minimal ingredients and transparency. We want customers to know exactly what they're getting. And I just, really believe in all of that.
What's your long-term leadership objective?
My vision is to grow my technical and leadership skills in the next 10 years so that I'm an influencer in the health and fitness, consumer packaged good industry. It would be to grow Helping Outs, whether that is continually growing it or selling it, so that I have skills in manufacturing and processing, branding, labeling, and marketing for the health industry.